right, so to transition from the strip wash phase, which I've already started rinsing, I'm transitioning from strip wash to now going to Iron X. I'm going to rinse the car thoroughly with deionized water, and then we're going to come back and we're going to spray the whole surface with the Iron X. All right, so all we need to do now for Iron X, since the car's been sprayed off, we got regular water, is now we're gonna hit it. And before I do the bottom, let's do the top. So I'm gonna spray it from the top down. Again, I wanna make sure that nothing dries on the surface. So this back section here that's, the sun's starting to go down a little bit, but the back section of the car has a little sun exposure. But I'm gonna spray liberally the entire, all the painted and glass surfaces with the Iron X solution. Now on this blue car, we're not going to be able to see it very well, if at all, the iron reaction. I want to try to stay upwind of this so I don't breathe it in if I can help it. Another thing that would make sense, I don't do this often enough to really matter, but if I were doing this professionally, I would get a pressurized spray bottle and put this in, rather than doing it by hand like I'm doing it. I certainly wouldn't use the sprayer that comes on the bottle. But to do one car every once in a while, I don't think it really matters. So again, I just want to make sure this stuff doesn't dry on the paint. I'm purposely not going to hit the plastics. I'm not going to worry too much about if I do get some overspray, but I'm not going to, at least the black plastic. This plastic with a sheen to it, I'm going to hit all that. The headlights too. But the plastic on top, I'm not going to mess with that. So we're going to go around the whole surface of the car, and I'll come back to you and after it's sat for about 5 minutes or so. All right, earlier in the video my estimates are a little off. I used half a bottle, not 3/4 of a bottle like I thought I would on a truck this size. So I just went around the whole entire surface. Again, this is blue, so I can't, I'm certain there's iron here, but you're really not going to see it on this. So black, blues, things like that, you can't see the iron being reacted with. So you just sort of assume that it's doing its job, let it sit for 5 minutes or so, and then we spray it off. So once again, I'm going to hit this with deionized water, and then we've finished our chemically decontaminating the surface with using our strip wash, followed by our iron removal solution. Now this, I want to be really certain that I get it off and I get it off well, because I'm going to be spending quite a bit of time claying or auto scrubbing the surface. So we're gonna go through, rinse off the entire truck, and that's the extent of using Carpro Iron X, the cherry scent solution. So let's first talk about a larger section like right here on the hood. So I'm generally gonna soak this entire area down. I don't like this sprayer at all. Make sure my pads, and actually, let me take that back, I haven't broken this in yet. So let's do the windshield first. So we could use this and do the entire car this way. But I find that having all three of these, both clay, a disc, and a pad, just works well. These are a little messier from a product perspective, but from a being clean perspective, on my hands and stuff, not getting clay anywhere on the paint, on the glass, on my fingernails, all of that, these auto scrubs tend to do are much better. But you are going to fling all kinds of product all over the place, which doesn't matter because I've got glass, or I mean I've got junk all over the place from washing it. I hate this kind of bottle. So by the time I do this windshield, this thing's broken in and ready to use on the paint. On the glass, I'll use more pressure than I will on the paint. So now our pad is ready to go. And let's hit this with the sponge since we're at it. So I've done many times where I'll just do the whole darn car with one of these. So in my experience, these get, 90, 95% of what a clay bar is going to get if you do a really good job with clay. Really disappointed. My other Raptor had a matte finish here. Now these got the typical black scratch disaster, so I'm probably going to clear film that. We'll clear film that when I clear film the base of the doors. So now both of our sponges, our sponge and our pad, are broken in. So let's go to the front of the car and talk about the differences in the products. This, I think, is an example of an area where I would use the big pad. So I'll basically split the hood in half. Spray the whole area down. And I break it up by panel so I remember what I did. But if I wasn't on camera, I'd just be flying through this. That's the beauty of the auto scrub. I just walk around doing this. Just cruise right through it. So again, we really don't need to use a lot of pressure here. Just let the thing do its job. I like to go forward and back in case I missed anything on the first go around. Having already wet surface, I find tends to help. And then what I'll do with this is I'll dunk it in the bucket occasionally. After every panel and a half or so, I'll dunk it in there so I get it extra clean. Make sure there aren't any rocks or anything that I'm dislodging. So doing it this way, I think, is so much faster than using like a, you know, a machine to do it. So here's a section. This is an example of when I would use a clay bar. Getting in these tighter, smaller areas with a small piece of clay. I could certainly get in with the block as well. So depending on how motivated I was and whether I'd even get the clay out, you can just hear the sound of me running it across the surface here. The dirt that's coming up. The lights seem pretty good. And then I'll just knead my clay and keep flipping it around. But this is the thing, you got to be careful you don't drop, because if you drop it, you got to ditch it. This, I can probably clay this too. I'd rather auto scrub that. Clay might leave a trail. So clay in general is a little more difficult to deal with, but this OptiClay is really good. Notice I haven't been leaving any residue behind. Some other clay I bought in the past doesn't do as well. This stuff just works. I'm going to come along this little thing here with my bar of clay. Or it would be hard to get anything else under here. Looks like I'm going to need to break out the hybrid to do this little section. Yeah, the clay isn't responding too well to that. Let's see how yeah, this isn't really something you're going to clay. It's grabbing or leaving more residue than anything. Same thing with this here. Yeah, we're not going to mess with that. And then the difference in the sponge. So that, again, the sponge, you can do the whole car, the whole entire truck. But it's just good to have all three of these, depending on what your mood is, what section of the car you're working with. And so I'll have all three of these out as I'm working through the truck, and I'll just grab the piece that I need. We're going to leave all kinds of like little residue from this left over. We're going to rinse the car when we're done, but I usually don't. I'll usually do half of it, rinse it, do the other half, rinse it again, and then let it air dry overnight, which is what I'm going to do with this, because I'm about checked out here. And I still have to clay the entire car, entire truck. I'm going to stop calling it a car. So you can see as I do this with the sponge, it's just not as good. You know, I'm not getting as accurate. You know, I'm not getting every little square inch as well as I would with a little piece of clay. But still, generally, this is what I would use the sponge for. All these tight little areas. Plus the clay bar gives more feedback. You know, I can usually feel the contaminants more with a clay bar than I can with this sponge. But again, we're going to be polishing anyway. I'm going to do this fender. As long as I get most of it taken care of, I find that it's not going to cause any problems. but we are marring the surface here. There's no way around it. Hopefully the lubricant using the Glide is helping us avoid some of it, but it's an inevitable issue with decontaminating the paint. Just dunk that in my rinse bucket. Finish this fender here. I'm going to rinse off the front end here. See, that's not going to get in there very well. And so that's the process on the mechanical decontamination phase, using either a clay bar or Nanoskin AutoScrub with Nanoskin Glide. So I'm going to go around and I'm going to rinse this front here with some DI water, and I'm going to keep working through. I'm going to hit the side of the truck, the top, and the rest of it, and continue the decontamination process. Come back when to wrap this up. All right, so I just finished rinsing the truck off. I'm gonna blow it off and then let it air dry. So I'm not gonna towel dry it. I'm gonna wrap it up for tonight or this afternoon, and I'll probably go and tape it up. Tape up the truck tonight so I can start analyzing and polishing tomorrow. I don't have to use any of this, the Tarex stuff on the truck. I didn't notice any tar anywhere. Maybe as I get the lights out, I might have to grab this, but I'll show you the video here of what I did with the Tahoe and show you some of the tar removal there. So anyway, that's the end of the process. So just to recap here, to do decontamination, we have generally 3, maybe 3.5 steps if you count the Tarex as one of them. So step 1 is going to be to strip wash the car. So I'm going to rinse, strip wash. That's of course after I do my wheels and tires. So I'm going to rinse and strip wash. So I'm generally going to use DI water to rinse, not the initial rinse, I'll use tap water, but the rinse after I use chemical gas citrus wash. So we wash the car like normal, get it prepped in order to do the second step of chemical decontamination, which is to Iron X. So we're going to spray the whole surface with CarPro Iron X, let that sit for 5 minutes, and then I'm going to spray it off with DI water again. Then we're going to go through using Nanoskin Glide, diluted 7:1. We're going to use both the flat disc, the AutoScrub fine disc, and then the fine sponge, as well as the OptiClay. So use a combination of those to completely mechanically decontaminate the paint. Rinse it again, blow it off, and then you're ready to start taping. So that's the decontamination process. And now the truck is ready to polish. We'll get the lights out tomorrow, tape it off, and see where we're at. Thanks for watching. What happens when the force pulls you back, your foot naturally comes off the gas. You have to keep your foot to the floor, to the floor.